was left, for the first time since the onset of his professional life, without the necessity of prepping a new release for the pop music marketplace. And John's absence from the music scene would prevail for much of the late 1970s, only to be interrupted by, of all things, a newspaper ad. In May 1979, he briefly suspended his self-imposed retirement with a full-page message in the New York Times. Signed as "A Love Letter from John and Yoko to People Who Ask Us What, When, and Why," the couple implored the world to understand our silence as a silence of love and not of indifference. Remember, we are writing in the sky instead of on paper. That's our song. Lift your eyes and look up in the sky. There's our message. Pointedly, nearly a decade had passed since the couple's last message to the world. In December 1969, they had launched an elaborate billboard campaign in major cities across the globe, declaring, "War is over, if you want it. Happy Christmas from John and Yoko." But this time the stakes were dramatically different and lower. Back then, the famous couple had joined the mounting ranks of the counterculture to protest the ongoing atrocities of the Vietnam War. 10 years later, they were clearly dipping a very public toe into the roiling, increasingly crowded waters of late 1970s pop culture. While some readers found the Lennons' message of goodwill to be confusing, even elliptical, were they simply trying to reassert their relevance in a world that had otherwise passed them by? Others felt refreshed by John and Yoko's well-meaning thoughts from their retreat on the Upper West Side. Although the May 1979 missive attributed their absence to the couple's long-term engagement in a spring cleaning of our minds, the notion that Lennon had earned his retirement many times over was a matter of little, if any, actual debate. He'd spent nearly the entirety of his adulthood on the music business's ceaseless merry-go-round, devoting his late teen years and early 20s to trying to wrestle his way onto the damned thing in the first place. But even still, John and Yoko had their share of detractors. Chief among the unconvinced was Rolling Stone's brash writer Dave Marsh. The 29-year-old music critic had made a name for himself as arguably the most acerbic and malcontented reviewer in the magazine's vaunted pages, and the reading public loved him for it. Yet when it came to Lennon, a bona fide hero of Marsh's from his formative years in the 1960s, the prickly writer let down his guard and waxed idealistic. In a series of open letters to John, the second of which was published in response to the Lennons' New York Times communiqué, Marsh entreated John to suspend his retirement and assist the citizenry of the Western world in making sense of the beguiling post-1960s, post-Watergate, post-Vietnam landscape. "I felt pretty smart," Marsh later recalled. "We resented him for leaving us during the late 1970s. Like most rock fans, I took it for granted that John Lennon existed to pump out entertainment, inspiration, and insight." And that's when John's reaction to Marsh's open letters trickled back to the writer through mutual friends. "I don't fucking owe anybody anything," John bluntly observed. "I've done my part. It's everybody else's turn now." Marsh was understandably devastated. Rather than inspiring his hero to effect a bravura return to the music world, he had succeeded in eliciting Lennon's well-placed ire. "I felt pretty small," Marsh admitted. "It never occurred to me until then that my attitude reduced someone I thought I loved and admired to the status of a vending machine." When it came to John's exile from celebrity and music-making, the Dakota was the perfect place to secret himself away from it all, to wax nostalgic and settle into enjoying the good life for a change. For one thing, the building's ornate roofline was the spitting image of the gabled rooftop of Strawberry Field, the Salvation Army orphanage mere steps away from Mendip's, his boyhood home back in Liverpool. But even more important, the Dakota represented unqualified class and distinction, a luxurious reputation that it had held for nearly a century, along with the promise of some much-needed privacy. One of New York City's most treasured and enigmatic landmarks, the Dakota had been constructed in the early 1880s at the behest of Edward Clark, co-founder with Isaac Singer.